In our first presentation this evening, we'll be offering a reading of the play DeLuxe by Louis Bromfield and John Gearon. This play was produced on Broadway in 1935 and is set in November of 1933. In this scene, which is the first scene in the play, Pat Dantry is in the midst of a phone call when the arrival of Fanny Altimus is announced.
Come in. What is it, Soames?
It's Mrs. Altimus calling, sir. She wants to know if you're in.
No. Hello, hello? Murray? Hello, it's Mr. Dantry. Is Mrs. Brandon up yet? All right, I'll wait.
Excuse me, sir. She knows you are in. She asked the concierge.
All right, yeah, bring her up. Hello? Yes? Oh, he is. Well, tell her to call me when he goes. Thank you, Marie. Well, that was quick. Did you fly up?
I want a drink.
You sound as if you needed it. Desperately.
I do. I've been fighting all morning trying to get from one side of Paris to the other. That damned parade is always in the way.
It only happens once a year.
The war was over 15 years ago. Why can't they forget it?
Oh, too bad the unknown soldier interfered with your fitting.
Why do you always have to be so disagreeable? I didn't mean to interrupt your telephoning. Was there a husband in the way?
No.
Sabine?
Yes?
She wasn't awake yet?
No.
I was on my way to see her.
Don't make trouble, Fanny. Why do you have to discuss our affairs with everybody in Paris?
It's insufferable. Haven't you any loyalty?
Get one thing straight, Fanny. I owe you plenty, but I don't owe you my soul. Sabine was a friend of mine long before I ever heard of you. And she will be a friend when I try to remember who you were. I told you that in the beginning. That's all there is to it.
Seems to me that's a hell of a lot. I suppose you're not free for lunch?
I'm not lunching. I've just had breakfast.
Janie Travis.
Oh, for God's sake, Fanny.
You can't say you haven't been seeing her.
I can't help seeing her. She's about everywhere, putting her pretty little nose into everyone's business. I swear, her father needs to take better care of her.
I suppose he knows all about you and her?
I don't know whether he does or not. There isn't very much for him to know.
I don't think you're exactly his choice for a husband.
My dear Fanny, he could whisk her away from me tonight and I should miss her. I'd never think of her again. I think she's a very silly child who deserves a spanking. And as to old Odgin's feeling for me as son-in-law, undoubtedly he looks on me as worse than death. I suppose that's what you're driving at.
Pat, darling, listen to me. Can't we make a fresh start?
There's nothing very fresh about either of us.
I don't mean that. I mean go away someplace, away from everybody and everything.
Away from this awful empty life to some place where there's reality. Where?
To Africa or to India.
Or Bali. That's the fashionable place now. Alice and Bobby went last year, and Mrs. Bashley is taking a party by yacht. Imagine Mrs. Bashley among the Guna Gunas. No, Fanny. No good. We'd be bored to hell with each other. You'd be inviting all the cannibal chiefs and politicians and trollops and notorious people to dinner right away. All the amusing people.
I don't ask much of you, Pat, do I? You are a swine. I don't know why I'm so patient. Any other woman would have chucked you long ago.
I think we're about washed up, Fanny.
How can we be after what we've been to each other? Doesn't the memory of Venice mean anything to you?
Of course it does. But the issue is, it is a memory. I'm about at the end of the tether, Fanny. I've been trying for weeks to hint it to you delicately.
You're jittery. I shouldn't have come in. I'm sorry. I'll go away and come back again when you're yourself.
I've never been more myself. In a dressing gown with a glass of whiskey, quarreling with the woman who keeps...
You're disgusting. May I go into the bedroom and wash my hands?
You beat the devil, Fanny. You can never do a decent thing without canceling it at once.
I don't know what you mean.
You know damned well what you mean. You want to make certain before you go that there's no one in there. I'll spare you the trouble. All right, Janie Travis is in there. You. Now, will you tell me why, when you finished using the bathroom in a perfectly natural way, you didn't come straight in here?
Because I heard her voice.
What were you afraid of? You hadn't done anything.
I didn't think it would look right.
You expect me to believe that? When you spend all your time trying to make people believe the worst of you? No. You know damned well why you did it. You were acting and thinking how wicked you were and what a good story it would make. Well, Janie can compromise herself if she likes, but I don't propose to be compromised. Get out of the way, Janie. Come here, Fanny. Look at the bed, Fanny. Examine it. Do you see even the tiniest wrinkle?
Once in Venice, you and I remade a whole bed so that the chambermaid wouldn't know.
Oh my God. You're unbeatable.
Well, I suppose I ought to go.
Will you take Janie with you?
I won't go.
Well, when you two decide, let me know.
Oh, nothing could induce me to stay. Come here, Pat. Kiss me goodbye.
You win, Fanny. Nobody can beat you for bitchery.
There is one thing I forgot to tell you, Pat. I dropped in to see Sabine yesterday. She was drunk before lunch.
I don't believe that.
Telephone her now. If she doesn't come to the telephone, it is because she isn't able to. Go on. Call her, why don't you? I'll wait.
Well, you certainly have made everything as difficult as possible.
I behaved as I thought I should.
Why did you act that way in front of Fanny? Might as well put a paid advertisement in the Herald. I, Janie Travis, wish to announce that I am no longer a virgin. Pat Dentry has done it for me. Is that why you came here in the first place?
She'll never tell.
Why won't she?
Because she won't want people to think you've been unfaithful to her.
Oh, you don't know women like Fanny. That's one of the things you have to learn. Fanny goes around town telling everyone about my infidelities. Real ones and a lot she has made up. It gives her a kind of sadistic pleasure.
I came here because I like you. It isn't anything very terrible to go to a man's flat for a drink. I've done it plenty of times and nothing's ever happened.
Not with a man of my reputation, my dear. You were never caught at it by Fanny Altimus. I suppose I want to offer you marriage.
Why not?
Don't think I'm sparing you because I don't think you're attractive. You're pretty and charming. And someday you'll have some sense.
I told you I came here because I liked you.
Would you marry me if I asked you?
I don't know.
Will you marry me?
I don't know.
Well, if you came here to be seduced, you came to the wrong place. I'm guilty of pretty nearly everything, but not of starting off a nice girl.
I don't know why I came here. Because I wanted excitement, I guess.
You thought it would be exciting to come and lead me to make love to you? But you didn't mean to do anything. That's about it, isn't it?
Maybe.
What about this nice young man you're engaged to?
Who told you anything about that?
Sabine.
We quarreled. It's all finished. It's all off. He's a prig. He said my friends were lousy.
So you came here thinking you'd get even with him. And he chose me because I was the worst man you could think of. Thought I'd be easy. Another thing to learn. Life is not always like the cinemas. Even a bounder you must catch in the proper mood and physical condition.
It was a little like that, but I like you too. I'm tired of being young and innocent. I'm sick of being treated like a child. I want to know what it's all about.
This professor knows all the answers, but he's giving no demonstrations. Listen, Janie, for a man, it's all too easy in Paris. If that's what he wants, he can call up any of 20 telephone numbers and have a woman waiting for him. An attractive woman, too. Paris is full of them. Attractive men are as scarce as hen's teeth. Doesn't put me into a frenzy to have a virgin come and offer herself. I mean, I think to insult you, I think you're grand. I mean, you've got to learn what's cheap and what isn't. You'll take my advice. You'll get your father to clear you out of this glorified Coney Island. Go to London, New York, anywhere you'll have a chance to meet moderate people and make sense. What are you crying about?
You make me feel so silly.
Well, I don't mean to. I advise you to ring up your young man and make it up. Has he got any money?
Nothing but what he makes.
Well, that's too bad. Money is always a convenience. It makes things easier. Especially when you've always been used to too much.
I want to be free. I want to get away from my father. I'm sick of big hotels and boats. I'm sick of being pointed out as a great heiress. I'm sick of people running after me because they've read about me in the papers. Sometimes I feel crazy, as if everything I've thought and did didn't make any sense. Oh God, I am sick of rich people. I want to feel that something is real. What is it that makes very rich people so boring?
I suppose it's because they never know the value of anything.
That's what makes me act like this. That's why I fell in love with Hank. He has to think of what bar he goes to because of the price of drinks. It was all exciting and new. When he says that we can afford to go to the Ritz for a drink, it's wonderful. He won't let me pay for anything, so most of the time we have to go to cheap places.
You might get tired of that too. But never mind, that's a better kind of boredom than the other. It's not so suffocating. You believe I know, don't you?
I suppose so. From what I've heard, I guess you know all the answers.
I've been learning them for 15 years, ever since I took off my uniform. I know all the answers, Janie, but they're the answers to questions people ought to never ask. Now, my dear, put on your bonnet and tip it. Take yourself out of my flat before any more she-wolves come in.
I wanted to ask you one thing.
What?
Will you take me to Mrs. Bashley's launching tonight?
I'll take you. I won't promise to stick by you all evening. It wouldn't be good for your reputation.
Aren't you going to Sabine's for cocktails?
Perhaps. Late.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. You get into another mess with your young man, go to Sabine. She knows all the answers, and believe what she says. Goodbye, and if you see me drunk tonight and talking rot, don't be confused. There'll be 2 other guys.